mine, too. Not cool. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Tom Luginbill, ESPN's college football team, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Luke's, the Florida Gators job is open, and they haven't been able to figure it out really post-Urban Meyer. Dan won for 3 years, and then things got off the track. Muschamp couldn't really get the offense going. McElwain lost his mind at the end, and he's a good coach. So it's a weird deal. Can you help me with what's in the water down there and maybe what could be the obstacles that's keeping them from being what we think they should be with Spurrier and Urban?
Well, I think, Bo, you got to start asking yourself, what is going on administratively? What is going on from an institutional standpoint in terms of whether it's resources afforded to football, name, image, and likeness, staffing, how well-resourced are they? Because, you just reeled off a bunch of really good football coaches, right?
Yeah.
Guys that have won a lot of games, and it's not working. So those guys, you often hear me say this, those guys didn't all just start taking stupid pills, right? They didn't all just start not knowing how to do their job. And I understand that today's climate's more difficult than ever just because of the nature of the sport and, the open market and the transfer portal, the transient nature of everything and players getting paid. I get that. I understand all of that. But it makes you wonder how good of a job is it? Like if you're all of the talk that's going to happen with Lane Kiffin in Florida and, the name being rumored, like, is that a better job than the one he has right now?
I think it's a great question. It should be, but I don't know that it is, right?
Right. And when you look at the job that Lane Kiffin has done, he hasn't taken a team to Atlanta yet, right? He's done the one thing, though, that cost James Franklin his job is he has shown and proven that he can beat the big boys, right? So that's a positive. That's something that Florida sorely needs. But at the end of the day, what Florida's looking for is a coach to get them to a championship.
Right.
Right? Well, maybe the job there internally isn't the same job that the one Lane Kiffin currently has. So, I think it's a very fair question in relationship to, are you better off? Because you'd have to ask yourself this question. With no divisions now, do you have a better chance of getting to Atlanta at Ole Miss or Florida?
Ooh.
Right? It's a tough question.
It is a tough question because of your Ole Miss pulled 3 tough permanents. Florida didn't get a cakewalk, and then you got the rotating 6.
Yeah. Look at the scheduling.
That's a good question, Luke's. Yes, the level where you're going is right. The playing field has never been more level, but there's still some juice. There's still it used to be a big gap, but there's still a little edge for Georgia, Bama, LSU, Florida type programs.
Yeah.
Over, Ole Miss and others. But yeah, we're in this unbelievable disruption and really trying to figure out where it's going to take us over the next 3 or 4 cycles. So look, Luke's, all these guys. Lane's has turned into a phenomenal coach. Jeff Brom has turned into an absolute dude. Drink is fantastic. There's rumors that Dan Lanning wants to coach in this area of the country, even though we know Oregon's a great job. We know Phil Knight's amazing, all that. But that Lanning's chomping to go against Kirby. And, Mullen told me, and he wasn't at a blue blood, as you know, but Mullen told me something years ago. We were at dinner, and he said, there is nothing like coaching in the SEC. There's nothing like preparing, and he was one of the coaching uphill jobs. But he said, man, you're under the lights at home. But he said, when you're under the lights on the road and you get a win, there is nothing like it. So those are good coaches. James Franklin, Jeff Brom, Drink, Lane, Lanning. And it's a hell of a group that they could land one of those guys, Luke.
So Jeff Brom has a knack for beating ranked teams. His record is phenomenal. He just knocked off number 2 Miami on Friday night. Drink has won big games and beaten ranked teams, right? Because you're looking for everything that Florida's lacking, right?
Right.
All right. Well, there's 2 right there with 2 different guys. The Lanning thing to me, I think, is a huge outlier because Oregon, if they want to, can financially keep him and you have a better path to the college football playoff in the Big Ten.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that one probably a little bit more of a pipe dream.
Okay.
Where, like, why are all of these jobs, like if you are Penn State, if you are Florida, if you're Virginia Tech, how are you not backing up the truck to Clark Lee and Vanderbilt?
I'm not ready to go there just because, look, he did an unbelievable job hiring Jerry Kill.
Playoffs, bro.
And we were talking about their path this morning. It's an incredible story.
Yeah,
it is.
I know.
And
it's unbelievable.
But I'd have to weigh Diego, the OC, and Jerry Kill coming. And look, Clark had to make that call, right? He realized he was on the ropes. I'm going to get fired. I couldn't believe they didn't fire him prior to him being able to do this. But he hired, 3 coaches and brought in 6 or 7 or 8 players, and it's unbelievable. All right, so that takes.
And that's what happens. But that's what happens when you make the right choices. And if you make the wrong choices, right, you can be in serious trouble.
Yeah. Well, all right, I want to talk about that. Having a dual threat quarterback today. So when you and I were growing up, you started at quarterback for Georgia Tech. You won a national championship, JUCO. You know about the position. You've played it, you coached it, and all that. So when you and I were growing up, you could be a statue, and you could win.
Yes.
Today, even in the NFL, they want you to have some wiggle and some mobility. And I don't mean you have to be Lamar, okay, when I'm talking about this for any level, NFL or college. I'm just talking about the ability, as you know, to extend plays and go get at least a few yards here and there. Talk about today now, Georgia and Gunnar Stockton making plays at a Georgia, a blue blood that usually played with the statue. Bama has made that switch under Kiffin years ago with those guys. LSU's kind of running into a problem that he may not be quite mobile enough. Same at Penn State. I mean, how important today is it to have a threat to run the football from the quarterback position, Luke, and play 11 on 11?
Austin Simmons hasn't gotten his job back.
Exactly.
So it changes everything. You talk to any coach in America defensively, and they will tell you. I can remember having a conversation with Nick Saban several years back. I think we were getting ready for the Citrus Bowl between Alabama and Michigan, and we were having a conversation about evolving and this and that. And he goes, I finally got sick and tired of chasing these guys around on defense, and told our staff, why don't we go get one? Like what are we doing, right? And so it takes a toll on you because the play's never over. When you think you have a negative play, you may not. And it forces you to play 11 on 11. When you've got a statue back there, you're playing 11 on 10 because you're not worried about any of that stuff. You're worried about the running backs. You're worried about protection, worried about passing game. But now you got to worry about the creative plays, and you got to worry about the designed runs and all of those sorts of things. And you're right. You make a great point. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson, but you've got to be able to create a second chance. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to every now and then pull a rabbit out of the hat and extend the play and avoid a 7-yard loss. And even if you just got a 2-yard gain, now you're net 9, right? I mean, you look at that, and that is a huge, huge win. And even somebody like Ty Simpson, who may be the best quarterback in college football right now, he's an athlete, and he can create and make plays with his legs. And that's why Alabama rarely has negative plays on offense right now.
Right. That's what so I thought Gunnar Stockton was even more mobile than I thought. You're right on Trinidad Chambliss. The dude can move. And he continued to bail Ole Miss out of bad situations on Saturday. And obviously they dominated that game for 3 quarters on Saturday. And you mentioned Ty. He can move around. He really can. Diego, I think Taylon Green's the best player in the conference, but he just doesn't have the right team around him. So let's go to Blake Shapen. Blake's got some mobility, but it is not a natural instinct for him to understand how to pull the ball down and go get yards. I don't know if it's just not in his repertoire or if because he's gotten hurt so much, he's not comfortable with it. I don't know. But not having a threat from that position is a detriment, Luke's. And I'm honestly surprised that Levy ran it back with Shapen after he was hurt last year, knowing that they had plenty of money. They're waiting on Kamario Taylor. I almost think I'm surprised Croman Hawk hasn't gotten a look because maybe he's a more refined Nick Fitzgerald. Maybe he's not.
Yeah.
But tell me what you see and how it handcuffs you if Shapen can't allow you to play 11 on 11.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it does is it forces you to be so good everywhere else that it doesn't matter,
Right.
And that just may not ever be something that Mississippi State's going to be capable of being on a week in and week out basis versus whoever their opponent is, right? I mean, if you're lining up out there and you're Jacob Coker and you got the likes of Calvin Ridley and Jerry Jeudy and whoever else, and you got Derrick Henry in the backfield, okay, well you can get away with that. And, listen, I got to be honest with you. I thought they had one in last year's freshman. The kid that's at LSU now.
Oh, yeah, Michael Van Buren.
Michael Van Buren is a good player, man. And so that kind of surprised me. And he could do all of those things that you're talking about right there. And so, yeah, I think it puts strain on you. And, and Jeff Levy's been at places and certainly some of his time there in Oklahoma where he's seen the difference between the two, right? And the athleticism and what that brings to an offense. And maybe that's not really what he wants to be. Maybe he doesn't want to have heavy quarterback run or be quarterback dependent with the guy and his legs.
The play call at the end of the game, I know you saw it eventually over the weekend. I mean, everything, you just got to run the football there and give your team an opportunity to kick the field goal and win, right?
I think so, yeah. And it's easy to sit here and second guess all of this. I did think that was an error in judgment. And it happens. It happens to everybody across the country. And then when you lose, it gets so magnified. And rightfully so. That's the nature of the profession. That's the nature of the sport. It's just unfortunate to see it happen because these guys work so tirelessly on their in-game decisions and scenarios and situations that when you have one like that, it just gets frustrating.
All right. As you look around the league, like Georgia Ole Miss was one of the better games of the year. Did you think so too?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was unbelievable. And the fourth quarter to me, we always hear about coaches talking about closing out games, right? Finishing games. That fourth quarter by Georgia was as good an example of that as I have seen in recent memory. There were 3 offensive series for Georgia in the fourth quarter alone that amassed 31 total plays. Like that is textbook finishing football. And that was the difference in the game. And Georgia could run the football, Ole Miss couldn't. And that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, 240, I think, to 88 yards or something. You're exactly right. And look, there were times prior to the fourth quarter where I thought Ole Miss was going to pull away. What'd you see?
I did too. I mean, shoot, they had a 9-point lead, I think, there for quite some time. And then Gunnar Stockton is what I saw.
Yeah.
The kid just flat out making plays left and right. And at the ideal times too. I think, momentum shifts and things of that nature. I mean, it's very, very real. And then you're playing on the road. I mean, that's the other thing. You start, that crowd starts shifting and they start seeing momentum. It can become very, very difficult to function.
All right, we're going to do some rapid. I feel like Mondays are rapid fire with Luginbill just because we're trying to recap the weekend, but also maybe look towards this coming week. Why has, and you may just boil this down to the quarterback, but why has Hugh Freeze lost his fastball considering he won everywhere prior to getting to Auburn?
Well, it's obviously it's one of the biggest topics of conversation, particularly in the southeast portion of this country. The biggest thing for me is you can't win one possession games. And you can sit there and talk about why all you want, but that's been the difference, is the one possession game, and it's plagued him so severely that it is deterred from the fact that he's actually put together a pretty talented team. But that talented team right now is finding ways to not come up with the win. I mean, there's 125 teams in college football right now that would trade their defense for Auburn's.
Yes.
Right? You look at their wide receiving core, you've got Cam Coleman, Malachi Fields. You've got, Horatio Fields. You've got Eric Singleton coming over from Auburn. You've got 2 running backs. I think the quarterback's been functional, but the offensive line's been awful. And then they find ways to beat themselves. If you actually go down the scorecard, this is one of their cleaner games of the season. It wasn't a double-digit penalty game, right? It wasn't just absolutely abhorrent on third down. It wasn't great either. But if you look at what Missouri did, they played the same bad game. They just happened to make a play or two when it counted most to win the game. And so, there were 5 one-possession games in the SEC this weekend alone. 5. And we are seeing that across college football. And if you can win them, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat. If you can't, it's the margin of error. It's so razor thin. I look at the 2022 season with TCU. They won every single one-possession and overtime game on their schedule, and they had a lot of them. The next year, they didn't win a single one of them. They went 5-7. Well, they didn't go undefeated to 5-7 by having bad players. But for whatever thing that is, and I don't know exactly what it is, somehow you got to get over that hurdle, and they haven't been able to do it.
All right, I don't think you don't always comment on this, and I don't blame you with being tied in with ESPN, but this is going to sound correct. I don't think Auburn's going to have an opening, Kentucky's going to have an opening, and I think LSU's going to have an opening. And I know that may sound nuts that LSU's going to have an opening. I just don't think they're going to get through A&M and Bama. And I think here's where I go, Luke. When other booster groups see what Penn State's done, right, wrong, or indifferent, and they're kind of not in where the space they want to be in, the zip code or the street, then they tend to all get together and go, well, if they did it, then we need to do it. To me, this has a domino effect on other rich booster groups, especially in the SEC, seeing what Penn State. Do you buy into any of that I'm throwing out?
Yeah, absolutely. And now the question is, are you resourced like Penn State is, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is, like Florida State is not right now.
No.
I mean, if they make a move, it's going to be well over $100 million, right? Between the buyouts, the firings, and the hirings of the next group. So they don't have that money right now. And so, like, how do you come up with it if you want to make a move? And everybody's in this rat race because they're worried about the transfer portal. They're worried about early signing period. They're worried about hitting January running, all of that sort of thing. And I get it. I mean, I totally understand that. But, man, I'm telling you what, man, these dollar bills are starting to pile up.
All right, let's go to Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Frame this one up as you look at this matchup. Do you expect a close game? Who has the edge? And what are you really looking for between the two teams this weekend as Ole Miss goes to Norman?
Well, I do think that it's going to be a very competitive matchup. I think back-to-back road contests in Athens and Norman is going to be difficult on anybody. I think Ole Miss has the better team. It'll be interesting to see if Oklahoma can, and I've said it several times on your show, and they actually did the best job of it last week versus a reeling South Carolina team right now, is can Oklahoma run the football effectively without John Mateer's help? And if they become so one-dimensional that everything's about John Mateer and the circus act and running around and making plays on the move, that's a little too chaotic for my taste. I think that gives Ole Miss an advantage. But Ole Miss now has to find out, can they respond off of last week, right? This is a response game. And the good news is you don't have a gimme. You actually have somebody that gets your attention, which I think helps in game plan preparation.
Okay. All right. So, and will Ole Miss be able to run the ball against Oklahoma?
Well, they couldn't run it against Georgia.
No.
At all. And I think and Lane wants to run the ball. They want to be a run-first power team, and then everything else comes off of that. But they're going to have to get after it on the ground, and they're going to play an Oklahoma team that can stop the run. Now, Oklahoma didn't play great against the run against Texas. And like I said, South Carolina's kind of reeling right now. But that'll be interesting to see that matchup in the trenches.
I want to hit one more. Texas at Mississippi State. I mean, it's going to be a tough one because as bad as they are on offense, Kwiatkowski and that defense is nasty. I got about a minute here. What do you see in this matchup? Does State have a chance to pull the upset?
I think so because they're at home. I think it's a very difficult place to play. And Texas cannot create any type of sustained consistency on offense. They are Jekyll and Hyde. They are up and down. They are peaks and valleys. I think that's just the kind of year they're going to have on offense. If Mississippi State cannot turn the ball over, not be heavily penalized, utilize that home crowd, sustain some drives, I think it could be a very good football game. And Texas has shown us that. I mean, Texas just went on the road at Kentucky and literally got outclassed in every facet of the game. Kentucky had 395 total yards, and Texas had 179. Texas had 47 yards rushing and won the game.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
Hey, that was good. Rapid fire with Tom Luginbill with ESPN. Thanks, Lugs. We'll talk next week.
You bet. Thanks, buddy.
Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back. The NBA season is here, and Underdog Fantasy is where the action lives. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, assists, or steals. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm rolling with Giannis for higher than 26.5 points and Luka for higher than 8 assists because you know those guys are going to fill up the stat sheet. So download the app today and use promo code OUTOFBOUNDS to score $100 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. The promo code OUTOFBOUNDS, Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 and older, present in Mississippi. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Underdog is fun.
Flip.
It's easy.
Bank.
Download the app. The promo code's out of bounds. Underdog, make picks, win money. Underdog, make picks, win money. Download the Underdog app today. The promo code, that's easy, out of bounds. Promo code out of bounds. All right, that was a good show today. Let's go lunch today. Let's go for the chicken fried chicken at Burgers Blues Barbecue, B3 in Dogwood, Flowwood. That's their blue plate. It's amazing. You can get a smash burger and go with some onion rings. But the chicken fried chicken blue plate, Burgers Blues Barbecue, B3, Dogwood, Flowwood. We'll see you tomorrow.